refers to you, singular. The lum is plural. So if I wanted to greet each one of you individually, I'd say dum alam, dum alam. But if I wanted to address more than one, the lum alam, the lum alam. So all of you have a call. And if you're okay. So for us, fresh water is life coming out of the earth. Whereas for the other people, their water is flowing. So each language has expresses more than just carrying on a conversation of noisy blasts of air. That's what a professor said. I started university in 1959 at the University of Washington. We had an English professor and told us that communications is not only being able to make verbal expressions, but you also have to develop a system of symbols so that if you have to give a message to somebody, you can somehow create that symbol so another person comes along, knows the message you're leaving them. So there's whole, but he said speaking is nothing more than noisy blasts of air forever gone anyway. So anyway, when we talk about expressing gratitude or gratefulness about how pleased you are with something, this word how it's in two syllables. There's the A with that's and the two A's ah. How how So this is where someone has done something for you for which you feel deeply grateful for. And so what my dad told me, he said, this is really right here in your chest is your spirit house. Ha, nai, ha, ha, how, ah. So my dad said what that's saying is you touch my spirit. You touch my spirit because I feel this in there that you have done this thing for me. And so it's also said that a gift is given because it's deserved. It is never to incur an obligation. So if I give somebody a gift, it's given because it's deserved. So if the person says back to me, how that person is giving me a gift back. So in some ways, that's almost an insult, because it's like I've incurred an obligation by giving you this gift, and now you feel you have to give me one back. It's the same with if you say to a person, "Dang di kuyadam." In English, it's translated to "I love you." But again, it's creating an obligation for you to respond. If I say to a person, "I love you," then the person feels like, well, I gotta say something back. But instead, what it's saying, instead of "I love you," I have deep feelings of love for you. And that's a real compliment. But it doesn't incur an obligation to where you have to respond. Likewise, you accept the gift. Come on in. Make sure your nose is clean. Here, we'll get you some chairs. Ooh. So you say your name, Hinu Di Kyaang. Shanika Hinu Di Kyaang. Okay, I spoke for you. And what I was explaining is that I'm not a language teacher. I can't really teach anybody to speak the language. What I'm interested in or focused on is teaching what the language says as to what it really means when you say certain things. And a part of it is, I'll just repeat that a gift is given because it's deserved. You never give somebody a gift with the idea I'm going to get something back. You do something for somebody, you think, well, God's going to reward me, I'm going to get something back. This is where you've incurred an obligation. Doesn't always mean you're going to get it. But so when you express gratitude or gratefulness, someone has touched you, your spirit place is right here in your chest. They call that ha-nai. And so the beginning word of hawa, ha, is that spirit part. And with the Polynesians, when they say aloha, also, that is that same, that ha is the breath of life. So when they refer to somebody from the mainland as a haole, it's actually two words, ha, oli. Ha is the breath of life, oli is without. These are people who don't have a spirit. Haoli. So ha'a is saying you touch my spirit. And so when I say ha'a to you, you don't, you hand me a gift. I say I accept the gift. I don't say ha'a because I'm giving you a gift back. So now, if you want to thank not enough room on his chalkboard. You want to thank someone and give a little bit more expression to it. Da Guam. How the Guam. How the Guam. That's where you're thanking a person and saying, thank you, dear person, dear one. So can you say that to your son over there? How the Guam. How the Guam. But with a boy, you'd use this term here. Kuna, hawa kuna. So that's a younger male, you say kuna. But this one you can use for either male or female. And if your mother does something for you, wa. Hoa. That's where you're expressing gratitude to your mother. And then if you're expressing to your father, so I would say to my father, it's one of those ones you gotta cough it up, spit it out and chew on. That's where you're saying, father of a boy, you touch my spirit, is really what you're saying. But if it's a female, she says to her dad, hada. But I don't know if you're two-spirited or what do you use? I guess it decides that you have to make the choice. So you're the one who's creating your identity, not somebody else. And then one of the words we hear quite often is the term gagi. Gagi, I think, is from Masset, but it's really not the correct word. What the word for uncle is ka. Ka. So when we put AAY on the end, we're making it very definite that you're speaking to a specific one, not just any uncle. How ka guy? Well, ka guy, the line under the K, ka. This is also on the Alaska side. I think maybe Masset uses it too. But this is the name we call halibut. It's a nickname. We call him our uncle because it provided us with so much. Not only food, but even glue. Waterproof glue was made from boiling halibut skin. And when you put it on, you can't wash it off either. So some of the glues used for gluing the corners and whatever, the bentwood boxes, it looks like sort of ochre paint, but that's not what it is. What it is they take ko'o, the eggs raw, well, they're still in a sack, they're not loose. And I don't remember whether they smoked them or not, but they pound them until you get all the juice out of it. Then you mix it with that glue from that halibut skin, and when you glue those corners, you can also use it for, like painting a design on something. And also the paint that was used, that you see these petroglyphs painting on rocks, it was made from the eggs of that coho. So what you have is a copper-based paint that actually penetrate the rocks. And it lasts there for, I don't know, 1,000 years, I guess, I don't know. But I've seen some very old ones that are still looking fairly new. So when you say how kagai, you're thanking that uncle. And uncle is only on your mother's side. So that's a brother of your mother. So the next one is kaga. I put a Y on there, shouldn't have done it, just kaga. So that's thanking your uncle. And if it's your aunt, so how was Ska. Now your aunt is your father's sister, not your mother's sister. Your aunt is only your father's sister. She's from the same crest as he is. And the way our marriage rules worked, I couldn't marry the daughter of my mother's sister, but I could marry the daughter of my father's sister, because there's one generation separates us, because they're on the Raven side, I'm on the Eagle side. So, and also this aunt, what my grandmother said was that when her father died, under the rules, and Haida will say cultural imperatives, is that the widow had the absolute right to choose any of her husband's nephews as her next husband, even if they're already married. But normally she would choose the one we call Nat Yaku, the true nephew, the one who inherits from him. Or it might be the other one, Koswan, another nephew of the same rank. But anyway, So my great-grandmother chose that true nephew that inherited the house and everything else. But he didn't want the kids. So the kids went to their father's sister. That's where. So you always know where everybody's supposed to go. So she and her brothers and sisters went to live with their father's sister. And that's where they lived with, that's where they grew up. So this is more than just terms to identify people, but it also talks about how the family structure works. So the aunt, like I said, is only the father's sister, but like with my mother is my biological mother, her biological sisters, and the women of her crest, of her generation. So she Janas, eagle, crest with two heads. So all the women of that generation would be my mothers. I would call all of them the O. And the children of those women would be my brothers and sisters. And the brothers of all those women would be ihlgiigaa, my uncle. So that's what we mean by an extended family. On the other side, like I was showing you, father, father I would call honga or hung. So my dad and his brothers I would call father. And also their clan brothers too. So I have a whole bunch of fathers. And then the sisters of all those men are my aunts, my aunties. And also this aunt, this Kana, when they arranged my marriage, she would be the one that would do the negotiating as to what, we'll say the bride price, whatever. She would be the one to make the decision, make the choices. So the women had to know all these genealogies. They had to keep track of that. And the men couldn't escape it either, because I was being taught it from the time I was a little boy as to who was related to whom. It's sort of like that bad joke about kid was really he was a teenager, and he looked very depressed, so his mother asked, "What's wrong?" She said, "It's Dad." "What about your dad?" "Every time I find a girl I think I like, he says I can't go out with her because she's my sister." The mother said, "Oh, don't pay any attention to that old fool, he's not your dad." That's a terrible thing to say. But anyway, so that's how that would work with your aunt and your uncle. The uncle is the one I get my inheritance from, not my father. His goes to his nephew, his not Yaku, his true nephew. So that's your auntie. And then this one too, with Alaskan Haida, is Nana. Nana. But if you're in Masset, it's Nani. And if it's Skidegit, it's Nanai. So Nana, Nani, Nanai. So they're all the same thing. It's slightly different pronunciation. And it's the same thing with grandfather. With Alaska, it's Chana. 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 With Masset, it's Chinny. Skittig it's a chunai. Chunai, chini, and chuna. So we use Massid use E, and they use I. So it's easy to understand each other. And if you want to so sometimes age plays a big difference too as to how you express something. Like for example, if I was to say thank Kelly for something, I could say to him Hawa Dawam or Hawa Kuna. But then when he thanks me, since I'm older, he would use my name or my relationship. Kaga Hawa, Kaga Hawa. Or like for over here. So the most important part of the sentence, I guess, is this relationship here. Chana, Hawa. So I'm thanking my grandfather. I wouldn't say it the other way around, Hawa Chana. Unless it was more of a, sometimes I'm just referring to an older person as Chana. But if it's right within my lineage, then it has a different expression. Boy. That's why kids are give them a stick in a box and then you don't have to. So anyway, any questions on any of this so far? So the important part is to remember that a gift is given because it's deserved, never to incur an obligation. So now we're going to do some others here. I might hope Katsla. Enter. Katsla. What do you say? Katsla, yeah. So Katsla. And but the way they did it, I used to be doing things like cleaning my grandmother's kitchen stove, the soot, whatever. And the other ladies would come to see her, but they never knocked on the door. They'd always hit the side of the door, but they didn't rap. Oh, Tlau Agent. Hey, it's me. Katsla. So, you didn't ask who is it. They would just announce, it's me. Hey, it's me. Tlau Agent. Tlau Agent, it's me. Or if you did say, if somebody did ask who you are, then you give your name. But so anyway, Katsla just means come in. And then once you come in, and here's where we start getting a little bit of the spitting sounds. Now this one here, some people have trouble with making that ka, ka. You put the tongue up, ka, 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 and push the air up, ka, ka. So that's a short one with the A, ka, ko, ko. It's not the same as ko. Ko is with a line under here and another A, and that's herring row. So be sure you say ko, not right, ko. So So, kautla, that means sit down. When those old men were teaching me, they would just say something like, either Hawit, come here, or you know, but or else they would just motion like this, kautla, sit down. I was working over at the Singing Frog, this daycare, kind of like a preschool, and the kids were running around, and I was going to tell them a story about how the woodpecker got his feathers. So I was saying, kautla, kautla. And one of the workers came over to me and she said, what's that word? And I said, it means to sit down. She said, in Afghani, that's the same word. So, I guess we're not all unique. We all have only a certain number of sounds that humans make. So sometimes we get what they call coincidental occurrence. So this is where you're telling someone to sit down. But this K is the one that you need to practice. Ka, ka, because ka is different from this one. Ka. That's deeper. So ka, 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 ka. Okay? And so it's sort of like you have a K and you have a K. Ka, ka. Ka, ka. Ka, ka. See, these both have this line under here, and they don't. Ka, 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 ka. See, they're just the voice. Just say it loud. Ka, 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 ka. Because it'll make a big difference in the pronunciation of words. So that's kautla. You're telling someone to sit down, or you could even be asking them. First you say kautla, sit down. Either you're sitting down or you're laying down and someone's telling you to get up. And then, this is a little bit backwards. I should have had this one first. Titla. The double I is pronounced as EA and bean, so it's Titla. Titla. Lay down. Titla. 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 So just keep saying them so that you can actually hear what you sound like when you say it. Because if you hear other people saying it and you repeat what you hear, and even if you can record it. So this is where you're telling somebody to lay down, and then the next step Kaditla, 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 go to sleep. Kaditla. Kaditla. That's a double I is like an E. A is like the U in son, ah. The double A is like the A in father, and HL is chul, chul. The tongue goes to the roof of the mouth, chul, chul. Push the air out to the sides. And this one here, some people have trouble with this sound right here, this KW. It's just without, see this is hux, huxta. You don't say them, you just mouth the sound. It's like you're saying, for example, if you said, you start pushing your lips together first, quack, 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 quack. It's that QU sound or KW sound. Hux, hux, hux. You have to purse your lips. Hux, 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 huxta, 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 huxta. It's either hurry or let's go, let's go. You're not just saying, let's go. Come on, let's go. Huxta. So maybe you should use a QU there. And you might still be tying your shoes or putting on your coat and somebody said, Huxta, Huxta, and you're quiet, quiet, wait, wait. So quiet is when you're asking someone to pause momentarily or until you're ready. Quiet. Oh, I didn't. And this one here is again a little bit different. See, the pinch in front of the W really means you tighten your muscles in your abdomen, wah, and release it, wah, wah, wah. So, why, 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 not just why, wah, wah, wah. Sounds like a baby crying, wah, 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 why. That you're just saying now, this moment, why, Huxta, why. Here's that KW sound again. Dak, 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 dak. Just practicing quack, 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 quack. Dak, dak, dak. And if you see on the phonetic dak, dogs. So it's dogs, dogs, dogs. So these two, it's incorporated into one word, dogs, dogs. HL is you, dogs, and it's not is, it's ista, ista, doctorista, 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 doctorista. You do it. And here we got that W again. Waji, 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 waji. You can actually put your hand in and you can feel the muscles tighten. Waji, 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 waji sta, waji sta. Do that, waji sta. Do that. So what I want to do is go through all of these here, and then what we can do is maybe pick 3 or 4 of each from each of these pages that you can just practice each day rather than trying to get all of them. Just pick the ones that seem that you might use the most often and practice using it that way. Here we got Aji again. Aji is da. In Russia, would that be, it's yes, it's da. So, ajista, 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 ajista. Take this, ajista, aji. There should be a mark above the A because the vocal flexion goes aji, ajista, ajista. And see if you can just sound out the thing by using those phonetic spellings I've put on there, so it gives you an idea of at least what it might sound like. And then we should just, if you have any real concerns about whether you got to look at the alphabet as to how you pronounce the double A's, and like this one here, W is like the double O in moon, Aju, NY, NY, star. NY means a half portion. There's a place just north of Heidelberg called Hak NY Kun. Hak NY Kun. Hak is the halibut. NY is half. Kun is the nose. What it is there's a rock. Oh, it's a little bit on the length of this table. And the way the thing is shaped, it looks like a halibut. About half of a halibut. And so they refer to it as the nose half of the halibut. That's why they use the word kun. Hak NY kun. So Aju NY sta, NY stop. Sound like you're going to spray saliva on everybody. Boy, it's growing fast. Aju, Aju, Aju NY sta. And that's telling somebody, here, take half of this. Take half of this. Maybe you see $1. 50 cents was half $1 in my dollar. And then this is what you're going to have to do. It has to use a pencil or a pen that says write it. Column, column, claw, column, claw, column, claw, column, claw, column, column, claw, column, claw. Makes your mouth tired saying some of those sounds if you're not used to it. Column, claw. And then here can be your response to all of this. This person this is a teenage phrase. Wang. Wang. I don't want to, I'm lazy. Gotta chew on things. So anyway, Wang. You've got the short pa sound and the double A. Wang. 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 And then the ones of you that are just a bit more ambitious, so again we have the D, os, and then the TS with a pinch, t. Sometimes you could spit between your teeth. Guitar, Dios guitar, watch me. Watch me. So if I tell you to do something, you can just say, watch me. You can't do that, watch me. So some of these others that we'll go over at the next time, but what I wanted to cover too is especially if we've got some young people watching this, about that prophecy that says that the medicine people will be called back from the earth by the tears of the children. Yesterday I was talking with a professor from UBC. He's in physics, biological physics, I think it's called. And what it is, it's the whole system of the body that runs on electricity. But it's not like wires electricity, but it's electrical charges from chemical reactions. And one of the things he was telling me is that what genetics has found is when they look at, bones, they can see every time there are cycles in which genetic changes occur. It's almost like looking at the rings on a tree, growth rings. You can tell by how far apart they are or how close together they are, whether there was more water or less water. You can tell about the nutrients in the soil by the spacing between them. And so they can actually look at this genetic material to see where some great upheaval had happened, and so there were genetic changes in humans. And some of the things they've looked at is like with global climate change. It's happened before. The first one that I ever heard about from the stories took place around 60,000 years ago. And this one we were supposedly made some major changes in our genetic makeup. And the last one was 26,000 years ago, the last ice age. You had large migrations of people moving because the climate was changing. And so now we're getting that same phenomenon. We're getting a global climate change. And one of the ways that you can look at what's happening is, say, when we got the British Empire and the other empires were expanding, they start expanding across the globe. But they didn't listen to anybody because they brought all their technology, everything with them. And they expected us to change like them. But they're eating our food. They're eating our crops. So they've gone through some changes to be more like us. And so now we're getting much bigger migrations of people that their food sources are disappearing, their water is bad, their forests are all burning down, there's no fish, so they're coming here. And so what that implies is that if they're going to learn to be like us, we have to learn to be like us. We have to learn to be how we were before. See, for somebody to control you, what happens is they think they found a leader. Now follow this person. Then they create a concept of God. And so God is one that everybody's going to follow. And if you don't, there's a lot of fear in there because you're going to get hurt. All kinds of bad stuff can happen to you. It's sort of what's happening now with the politics. It was like that in the 1930s. You had Hitler, Mussolini, and a bunch of them. And now we've got the same thing with Trump and with Boris Johnson and some of those others. And people ask, why are people following them? Because we follow them because we think they have the power. And yet they don't. But it's sort of like you've got a new God now to believe in. You don't question, you just believe, you just keep doing it. And so that's what they did to us. We didn't have a God to believe in or to follow or somebody. Our way was more like, if you love somebody, your children or somebody, and they make a mistake, you don't punish them for it. You help them how to learn to do it the right change, a negative to a positive. But under the other system, you punish. So people are afraid of you, and they'll do things because they know they're going to get hurt if you don't. So we have to start teaching them there's a different way of raising children. Instead of yelling at them or hitting them, you guide them. Because if you shout, I was working with a family not too long ago, well, two families really, and a little boy would do something, and the mother had a very sharp voice when she'd say, stop! I mean, wow, that, and the kid would immediately react. But instead of doing that, what they did to us, they distract us. Could I have a hug? I need a hug. And they come to you rather than trying to stop them from doing something because you tell them not to do something, that's what they'll do. People just are that way. So we have to start learning to be who we are, who we were, so that we start teaching other people on how to survive. When the Europeans came, that first bunch of Puritans, I guess, the tribes stayed back in the woods. They didn't reveal themselves. And they watched. And they were horrified at these people. Why did they hate their women? Why did they hate their kids? They're always beating them, berating them, making them feel small. It was getting toward fall time, and they hadn't prepared food for winter. They didn't put up stores for winter. And so the tribal people decide, well, they're so cruel to women and children, we'll just let them starve. But then they talked about it some more and said, well, if we do that, then we're abusing the women and children. So they made their presence known. They shared with them the food they put up for winter. They taught them how to survive. And this is one animal that'll turn on you if you're kind because they think you're weak. And so they turned on the people. And you find out that when people came here, they didn't get any diseases. They brought all their diseases with them and infected everybody else. So now we see these mass migrations and we see people reacting to it with their, what's it called, ultra-right, that we don't want you in our country. This is for white people only. Well, what about when you're running around the world doing all the things you're doing to everybody else? It's coming home. You think they're going to do the same thing to you that you did to them? Oh, it doesn't work that way. Is that right? Pretty soon you're going to wish he didn't, because he's going to be just giving her, I guess you'd say. Already, I'm just amazed at how fast he's developing. Wow. So yeah, because of that prophecy about the children, it says now we're supposed to listen to them. Tribal people always listen to the young ones because their minds aren't structured yet. They're not. There's no boundaries for them. So they'll come up with ideas that seem to be way off somewhere in space, but yet it might work. But our job is not to contain them, but to guide them so that they don't do the same things we did. We've got parents that take a child like, that's a year old and start structuring their lives to prepare them for a career. So they're already squashing in the creativity. And so we're not supposed to do that anymore. What it works is to guide them and to help them and to listen to them. And what's happened at other times, where we had global climate change, you had people who didn't change, and they all died. So it's either change or die. So when we start looking at our languages tell us how to structure our societies. It tells us how to treat each other, but it doesn't tell us to worship or to pray. It says that we have to express gratefulness, gratitude for the things we've given, but we do that in how we treat things. Our salmon ceremony in the spring, the men would get the gear and the canoes ready, and on the beach they're digging pits. But they're already been dug because they go back to the same place year after year. And they were singing certain songs as they're getting ready. And on the day when it's supposed to begin, just at Sanga, just as the light is beginning to sweep away the dark, just when you can see shapes that are still vague are becoming defined, then the canoes would go out. And they would troll, dragging lures for ta'awan. In Alaska we call it king salmon, here we call it spring salmon. And so they would troll for this until just before the sun came down. Just as before it comes down, there's a window opens to the other side to where you can send a message to the spirit world. So they would come in before the sun went down or came down, and they'd lay all those fish out because they were on the ocean side, so the fish's heads would be pointed to the east, but the back of the fish is to the north, and that's the direction of healing. Whereas to the east, that's new life. That's where new life is coming from. And so anyway, they would bring up all the fish, they'd lay them out on the beach, and there were greeting speeches, greeting them as they're coming ashore. And there were songs as they were singing. And they would carry them to these pits and wrap them in leaves. I think it was skunk cabbage leaves they talked about. And they'd put in layer, and layers of them. But there were posts stuck in the ground too. And when they got to the point where it was full, then they would cover it over with sand. But before they put the fish in there were hot rocks were put in the bottom with a layer of sand to keep it from scorching the fish. And when they got it full, they would put a cover over it. And when they'd pull a post out, they'd pour seawater down into that hole. it would hit those hot rocks and create steam. They would put the plug back in, so the steam would filter up through those fish. And this would go on all night in all these different pits. And they were cooking the fish all night like that, steaming them. In the morning, just as the sun again, as the sun is going up, and the dark is being swept away by the light, they would open those pits. And there were songs that go with it, and everybody was given something to eat. And when they ate, they saved the tails, the backbone, the bones, and the heads. And when everybody had finished eating, certain ones would carry these bones and remains, carry them down to the edge of the water, and gently place them in the ocean with more to come. And so the spirit of those ones that they'd consumed would go out and tell the others, look how good these humans treat us. So that's why they'll come back again. So ceremonies were all about not praying that God will bring us good bounty, but we ensure it by how we treat them. And always giving back. When I go hunting, I don't say I'm going hunting for deer, or deer hunting, or I'm going duck hunting, because when I say that, I'm saying that being has no say in this relationship. Instead, I say I'm going to go take a look around. And if something presents itself, I either accept the gift or I give it back. The first one, I give it back. That way, if somebody else comes after me, they've got something. So I accept the gift. And then there were certain ways in which that was done too. So you're always giving back rather than just always taking. So that's how you maintain the balance. So anyway, these are the things that I want people to learn from our language, rather than just being able to speak the sentences. Because there are people who are very gifted at teaching language, and I'm not. So anyway, that's where I want to go with this. And we've always left it open for anybody that wants to come in, because the more people know about us, the less they have to fight with us about. And so they can start learning, like what you're doing, about seeing the world in a different way, rather than from being what you call a command-structured society. It's a pyramid. Everybody's fighting to get up here. You're looking out for number one. You're always trying to get to the top, to knock that one off so you can take over. The terrible irony of that is when you get to the top, there's nothing there. You got no place to go except down. And yet people scramble and kill and lie to get to the top. Where in a tribal society, it's what you call ascribed. Say my uncle has 20 nephews. We're not going to compete to become the one chosen to inherit, to be the Nat-Yaku, the true nephew, except in demonstrating that we have a soft mind, that we care about people. We're going to take care of everybody. We're taking care of our family. We're doing all these things. That's how you demonstrate it, not by how tough you are, or how many people you can kill, or how you can manipulate people. So again, but it's what you would call an ascribed society, in which you do have some people that are considered, we'll say higher, I guess the word is class, but again, that's not an absolute thing to where you can treat people badly. And even if you're the chief, ihlgiigaa is a big boss who can't give orders. So the chief could never punish you for being insubordinate, for saying something improper to him, or arguing or whatever. Usually you make a fool of yourself because the other people say, what's wrong with this person? It's a difference. It's okay to disagree, but not be disagreeable. So, so then your society goes along like this, and you don't get very many changes except for when you're ready to change. It's sort of like in 1987, I think it was, we were at Brimful Lake above Lytton. This protest movement, I guess you'd call it, to save the Stein Valley. And so most of the people hiked up there, and some of us lazy ones, we caught a helicopter ride up there. And what's his name? John Denver was there, and Dr. David Suzuki. And they were sitting talking, and I invited myself, which I rarely do. But anyway, they were sitting there talking about food. And I made a comment about our diet was dependent upon, we'd eat something when it was in season. And Dr. Suzuki was holding an orange in his hand. He said, I guess it is ridiculous to think that here I am, sitting on top of a mountain in British Columbia, Canada, about to peel and eat an orange that was ripened in Israel. So our bodies adapt to those rhythms, but now we're eating processed foods. We don't eat things according to any fixed schedule anymore. It's all, so we're becoming just like everybody else. We're becoming, I guess, how do you pronounce that word? Diaspora? Where, like the Jewish diaspora, where the people that got scattered. That's us. It's like somebody smashed that windshield. And so it's all shattered. We're still here, but we're not connected anymore. So we're trying to reconnect those to where we can, again, become a complete unit. And so we're going to... Thank you. Oh, oh. Go get him. I don't think we should give you this eraser. So any questions? I don't really have any answers. I've got lots of questions myself.
It's very useful.
I was at this Heart of the City festival, talking about our language in Haida, about how, we'll say this is a human right here. In English, we say the sun is coming up, the sun is going down. In Haida, we say the sun is going up and coming down. So our view of the world is from being here, whereas their view of the world is for being on top of it when we're not. And also, our concept of time and history, awan, has been translated to mean a long time ago. It's behind us. But that's not what it is. It means it's way over there, I can see it. So it's in front of me. So my history's in front of me, not behind me. That way I always remember it. I don't just put it behind me. And even like with color, someone would say, well, what color is that? In English you say it's red, that's a conclusion. Whereas in Haida it really means it's being red. Because when the light changes, the color will change. So it's not fixed. And that's what artists do. They see the world in not absolutes, but everything will change because of the light. Light changes everything. And feelings and emotion too are not fixed. I'm not sad, I'm being sad. But maybe if I'm homely, that means it's fixed. I'm not just being homely, I am. And then if you're hungry, you're being hungry. It's not just a fixed state. You don't just go from being hungry to suddenly you're not. There's a whole process to everything. Everything is a process rather than a product. So again, that's how your worldview will change. And having a sense of humor, your life begins the first time you laugh at yourself. That's what being humble means. Humble is the ability. Who's done King Song? I'll see you again.
I'm going.
So even that we don't say goodbye either. In Hawaiian, I guess they say aloha, but that doesn't mean goodbye. I'm not too sure exactly what it translates to, but who's done King Song? I'll see you again. Even when it's a body in a coffin, we say the same thing. I'll see you again. Because everything is a continuous motion. Everything is moving, nothing is just sitting still. Even moss moves. You see starfish in the ocean, clams, some of them actually swim, but they all move. So that's what our language does. It isn't just to take English equivalents like you say, good morning, good day. We don't ask really how are you, because you're asking for a diagnosis. But the word good is really sort of an ambiguous term. It doesn't really have any specific quality to it. But when you say die laden, I'm saying this person has goodness. So it's a state of being rather than a quality of taste, I don't know. Oh, and then this word kun. When I touch his nose, I call kun. That's also the word for whale. Kun. Kun, yeah, kun. K-U-N. The nose of the whale comes into life when it comes from the ocean. It always comes up his nose. And this one is your teeth, but it's also a beaver. Beaver has very prominent front teeth. So I do crossword puzzles, and I just happen to turn on a page that says Woody Language, English. You got so many words for so many things, whereas ours is reduced down to concepts. So you get a picture of something rather than just one thing. And even the heel of a loaf of bread, we call that sibli kun. Sibli kun, that's the end of it. That's where something else begins. Sibli kun. And last night I told you I watched that screening of that documentary on reconciliation weaving. And I know the filmmaker that did it. And then there was another one on the survivor pole, the pole that was raised down there on East Hastings. And I didn't get a chance to stay and watch all of that one. But I think with the way people are making all their movies, the kids and stuff are doing things now, that maybe we can get them to start doing some of these things for us, because they see the world a little differently from the way we do. So, I'm not too sure